And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers. Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Welcome to Chasing the Trophy Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Sanders, coming at you for your Week 16 Waiver Wire edition. Man, we have made it through almost 16 weeks here, several more podcasts than that. But we are winding it down, guys. And Week 15 was wild. I hope you survived. If you had Derrick Henry and Saquon as your running backs, like a good friend of mine did, you might not have, unfortunately. But hopefully you're hanging in there. Big Week 16 matchups coming up. Thank goodness there's not just a ton of teams that have kind of already clinched and like have their positions already sewed up. Thank goodness. So hopefully there's not going to be too many big shakeups going on. I'm trying to stay on top of that for y'all, but I'm going to come at you with hopefully some ads that will help you out down the stretch. That's my goal, is to get you some guys that down the stretch that are pretty widely available, but can help you out and hopefully get you to the championship if you're in your semifinals this week, like a lot are. I happen to go 2-2 in my playoff matchups. I made it 4 leagues and lost in 2 and then made it 2. So, it is what it is, but at least I made it, and that's the thing. Like, if you didn't, there's always next year, and it's just about having fun playing the game and hopefully use these opportunities to fellowship and maybe tell somebody, about God and Jesus. So, but we're going to jump right on in, Lord. Thank you for these opportunities. Thank you for giving us the abilities and just the chances to talk about this game and giving us this game. And because without you, you could just erase football from everybody's lives if you wanted to, but you don't. You let it go on, and hopefully we could use it as a platform to fellowship and navigate and network and tell people about God and Jesus, and use those as opportunities to glorify your kingdom and share your name. And just please be with Nora Kay and her during the holiday times as she's working on getting her immune system back up, and be with Crew Tidwell and his family. It's, same thing as they're going through all these trials, Lord, that you're putting through, but you're just giving them a greater testimony for you and what you do in their name. And then also be with Mama T and the Nord family. They're going through this time at Christmas, and it's a wonderful family, Lord, that I've been blessed to know for a long time. And just be with them and give them peace and understanding about everything that Mama T's going through. And then just also be with the victims and relief workers of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, as a lot of people are rebuilding and now getting into holiday times. Just give them peace and understanding and help them turn to you. And during this time, Lord, with their needs and their opportunities, and just be with them and keep them safe during this time. And also be with Operation Christmas Child boxes. They go out and reach people all over the world, Lord. Just give them the impact that we know that they can have, and just be with them. And I just hope that each and every box touches either some child or their entire family, and that the gospel just spreads like wildfire amongst everyone that doesn't know it, Lord. And just please give all of these things, just be with these prayer requests, Lord. And just thank you for everything, all the opportunities you can give us. And just please let us remember the reason from the season for your son come to the world to save us, Lord. Just please be with us as we go throughout our lives, and continue to just glorify you, and just thank you for all the blessings you continue to give us. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. So top waiver wire additions for Week 16. lots of good stuff coming up here. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, and we're going to thank all of them again, just because we really appreciate them and them supporting Dirty Boot Sports. So that way, we can bring y'all all the podcasts on this network. And just thank you for Big Reed BBQs. They started as a family recipe in 1986. Their mild flavor is right on time. Their spicy is just enough heat. Owner Ken Reed and Director of Marketing Andre Leonard say you can get their sauce at Doug Damona Farm and Feed, Time to Shine Detail, the Salty Brahma, the Quitman Store, and Amazon. And also check out their new recipe, Pineapple Habanero flavor. And just be with them as they go and kind of rep their barbecue sauces. I know they had a big tasting in Houston. I seen on their Facebook page last weekend, and getting their name out there. But guys, as you can fire up the grill for the holidays, people are coming to the house, or you're going to cook something to take it somewhere else. Get you some Big Reed and put it on there, and give it a shot. Support them, and you can get it on Amazon. It's not too late to get it ordered to get it in before next week. So y'all support Big Reed. We really appreciate them supporting us. Mimi's Children's Boutique is located in Jonesboro. They fulfill all the clothing needs for your little ones. Owners Melissa Johnson and Megan Harrell offer children and baby boutique brand clothing, accessories, vinyl print t-shirts, and so much more. You can find them on Main Street in Jonesboro from 10 to 6, Tuesday through Friday, and 10 to 2 on Saturday. This countdown is on, guys. Last week before Christmas, get out there, get those last minute gifts for your kids or your family's kids. Go support Mimi's Children's Boutique in Jonesboro. And then last but certainly not least, Crown Detailing. They offer mobile car detailing services, conveniently servicing your vehicle at your home or workplace. They provide various services for your cars, boats, campers, and RVs, serving Ruston and surrounding areas. Reserve your spot today by contacting them at 318-474-0859 or find them on Facebook by searching Crown Detailing. And we really appreciate them. Go get your ride cleaned up. Y'all holler at them on Facebook or at 318-474-0859. Thank you, Crown Detailing, for supporting us. Y'all go out. All right, guys. So several big injuries this past week. Unless you live under a rock, you probably have heard about some of them. Patrick Mahomes goes down with a high ankle sprain. They're calling it mild. He's considered week to week. Honestly, with as good a position as they're in to make the playoffs, Carson Wentz is his backup. And considering Patrick Mahomes was not exactly lighting the world on fire as a fantasy quarterback, I don't expect Carson Wentz to be extremely relevant going forward. I'm sure they probably lean a little bit more on the run, especially since they have Pacheco and they have Kareem Hunt, both at running back, who've been very successful this year. I expect him to lean a lot more on the run. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be relevant if he plays a fair amount, and I really expect them to lean a little bit more on this defense. It's been pretty solid for most of the year. Last three matchups are Houston at home, at Pittsburgh, and then at Denver. I mean, Pittsburgh and Denver, those big defensive teams, not exactly offenses that light up the world. I mean, you could really see them let Carson Wentz kind of navigate these last three games, as they've already kind of locked up the playoffs. And honestly, I think they lean more into their tight ends. Like, I think this is a big boost for Kelsey and Noah Gray. Maybe a little bit for Xavier Worthy, as they probably try to do some more gadget plays to bust a big play with him. But I would not be surprised if Mahomes misses a fair amount of the last 3 weeks just to get him healthy for the playoffs. I mean, he could play through it, but do you really need him to at 13-1? They have a 2-game lead on Buffalo for the top seed in the AFC. So really, they win one of these games, then I think they hold the tiebreaker with Buffalo. No, Buffalo did beat them. That's their one loss. So if it is a tie, so they really need to win 2, or have Buffalo lose 1 more. But I mean, I think you could easily beat Houston and Denver with Carson Wentz at the helm, personally. So, but yeah, so 3 games left. I think Mahomes may play against Denver if they let him rest the next 2 weeks. But if they win one, who knows? But Mahomes is out. That's all that matters. Kenneth Walker ended up sitting last week. had a good workout on Monday, so his status for this week's probably, kind of in limbo. But honestly, why push him? But just keep an eye on that. But Kenneth Walker was out. Another big one with big playoff implications. Ton of playoff teams had David Montgomery on their team, who ended up leaving the game and then came back against Chicago. Against Buffalo. I'm sorry. Left the game, came back, played some plays, but he's going to end up undergoing season-ending MCL surgery. Big blow to a lot of fantasy teams that had Montgomery going down the stretch, but there's some options out there to pick up throwing that, because there's a solid chance he probably wasn't RB1, he's probably RB2, but still a big blow. So David Montgomery gone for the season. Try to give you a couple options to replace him out there. Let's see, another one, George Pickens. So missed week 15 against Philadelphia. Now he's got week 16 against Baltimore. No update as of if he will play or be able to play in that. I just keep an eye on his practice schedule to see. There wasn't really a wide receiver that stepped up for them in particular. Freiermuth did have a good game. So there is that. David Njoku ended up missing last week's game. Said they're hopeful that he'll be able to suit up this Sunday against the Bengals. With that hamstring injury, we'll see. Honestly, they don't really have any reason to push him to play. As of a lot of teams that are already pretty much, got their season, got their season sewed up at this point, whether they, that have already been eliminated. But just keep an eye on Njoku as that goes. Jalen Waddle ended up having a knee injury during this Week 15 loss. He says not major, not surgery related. But I mean, he had that couple good games as of late. Tough matchups coming up against Cleveland and the Jets to end the season. We'll see if he ends up pushing to make it back. I just keep an eye on that. But that's Jalen Waddle. But he does have San Francisco coming up, which has been a tough matchup as of late. Moving on to our next guy, Justin Herbert, playing on Thursday night. So limited on Monday, completely going to play against Denver on Thursday. Big matchup there for them as they're trying to get in the playoffs and lock that down. Nick Chubb goes down with a broken foot. Dude works that hard to come back, plays in a handful of games, and then he breaks his foot. They said they don't expect him to require surgery, but he's pretty much done for the year. So, at least he made it back. Really stinks for Chubb owners who didn't probably get all that they'd invested in his draft capital. But he did break his foot, going to pretty much be gone rest of the year. You probably drop him if you need to. Let's see. Zach Ertz goes down with a concussion. He's had several. Would not shock me if he is out for the next game or two. With them making the playoffs, they might hold him out. Quentin Johnston goes down. Really didn't go down. Emerged with an ankle injury. So they play on Thursday night. Didn't really miss anything during the game on Sunday, but then Monday was a non-participant in practice, which Monday's normally a big practice for Thursday games, and was a non-participant on Monday listed with an ankle injury. So either he was just kind of getting some rest and kind of recovering, because he did have a big game, 10 targets, 5 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown, but just really don't expect him to miss Monday's practice when they have a Thursday game, especially a big one against Denver. Keep an eye on that. He is somebody I like against Denver this week. But if he just keep an eye, hopefully he was able to go and give it a shot. And then I think that's pretty much going to wrap up our injuries to anybody really relevant at this point. Oh, somebody that was, I guess, kind of relevant. Sincere McCormick, somebody, a lot of hype going into Monday night's game against Atlanta. Supposed to get a lot of opportunity. Ends up hurting his ankle in the second quarter. and has to leave the game pretty much done for the rest of the game, which worries me. He might be done for a little while longer. But yeah, crazy, pretty bad injury where he was going down, get tackled, and somebody landed on his leg and kind of pinned his ankle. Just looked real nasty on there. Missed the rest of the game. We'll see what happens. I really don't expect him to come back this week, especially being on Monday night when it happened. We're going to talk about that in a little bit going forward. But yep, that's Sincere McCormick. If you picked him up and you played him, I'm sorry. I mean, honestly, he was looking pretty good to start the game in the second, and then in the second quarter, goes down, really stinks there. Xavier Legette for Carolina ends up leaving the game with a groin injury. He's considered week to week and will be ruled out already for week 16, which does kind of affect one person that is on the waiver episode. And then somebody else, Will Disley, ended up, because he was pretty hot target there for a while, listed as non-participant, was listed week to week last week, got ruled out for his game last week. So Will Disley will probably not play on Thursday night, and that will factor into our waiver targets here in just a little bit. But that's going to pretty much wrap up our news and injuries. One thing to focus on, too, before we get started, guys, if you've made it to this next round and you've got your lineup kind of locked in, you need to be picking up those handcuffs. Those handcuffs are not going to be, for the most part, they're not going to be on this waiver wire edition. This waiver wire edition is pretty much for people that you might need to pick up and start right now. There's one guy that I will list on here that's for future, but really two people actually. But if you do need to pick up those handcuffs for your starters, because whenever they start getting rested, hopefully it won't be mid-game. It'll be, you'll have a heads up that the guy won't be playing that week. You need to have those backups on your bench already. So hopefully you're not too late for that. Somebody hadn't beat you to the punch, but be looking for those handcuffs and picking those up as priority over some of these other guys. Because they will get more opportunity on better teams typically. Even though some of these guys, are fairly good players, but they might be on bad teams. And that does make a difference down the stretch. So getting on into our quarterbacks for pickups for waiver wire for week 16, number one's got to be Aaron Rodgers this week, guys. Going up against the Rams, one of the softest pass defenses in the NFL. Last week, Rodgers feasted, as a lot of people really predicted. Honestly, not else much to say. He looks like the Rodgers we expected the last couple weeks. And then last week at Jacksonville, 16 for 30 for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, 6 rushes for 45 yards. I don't know where that came from. Because he's way too old. He's going to break a hip out there running that much. But obviously he's feeling good. Now he gets a Rams defense. And honestly, I think Rodgers is just playing for pride at this point because everybody's thinking he's washed and he's pretty much done. And I think he's trying to show that he's not. So why not hop on that gravy train and see, and see what he can do for the rest of the season. He's got the weapons. He's got motivation as far as pride. So give Rodgers a shot. Pick him up. Start him against the Rams this week. He's number one. Number two is going to be Cooper Rush at Tampa Bay. Did it again last week. We had him on the list and as somebody to start, and that was up against Carolina, the worst pass defense in the NFL. 18 for 29 for 214 and 3 touchdowns. 4 carries, for 5 yards, and then he had a fumble. But he put up 25 points. Take away 2 for that fumble, that's 27 points if he didn't fumble the ball. That was at Carolina. Well, you know what? Guess what? This week he gets the second worst pass defense in the NFL against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is going to put up a heck of a lot more points on him than he's going to put up a heck of a lot more points on him than Carolina did. So I feel like they're going to be even more pressured to throw the ball a fair amount on from Dallas. So that's going to be a big one. That's going to be on Sunday night. What a Sunday night game right there, Dallas and Tampa Bay. So pick up Cooper Rush, start him, give you somebody to watch on Sunday night before Christmas. Also, number 2 for me is going to be Mac Jones. And you're like, Mac who? Yeah, Mac Jones. But Mac Jones for Jacksonville going up against Las Vegas. I mean, and as you're seeing right here, a lot of these guys, these are matchup based guys with terrible defenses they're just going to let them loose. They're going to let them do what they want to, throw the ball as much as they can, as much as they want. And Mac Jones last week against the Jets actually had a great day, 31 for 46, 294, two touchdowns, two picks, but four rushes for 29 yards. He's got weapons too. Brian Thomas, ETN, now Brenton Strange. But a lot of people don't realize Brenton Strange was a round two tight end draft pick. He's been behind Evan Ingram, but Brenton Strange is a solid athlete at tight end and a good weapon. So Mac Jones has got some weapons to throw, and they let him throw the ball 46 times against the Jets. What do you think they're going to do against Las Vegas? They're going to let him chunk the rock. And they're ranked 23rd in the NFL against, as far as giving up points to quarterbacks. Last week, the Raiders actually looked pretty good, but then they also announced right before the game they're shutting down Crosby for the rest of the season. They gave up 25 points to Baker, 20 points to Mahomes, 23 to Bo Nix, 35 to Tua. I mean, Mac Jones isn't those guys, but he's got the opportunity. I just think he's somebody that's going to put up some points down the stretch that if you're in a bind, if you have Mahomes or, you got a quarterback that you're worried about getting sat because like Goff, it's Goff said, because he's in a race with Green Bay right now in Minnesota. But if you got somebody that, that got injured or whatever, you had Geno, you got Justin Herbert, you don't want to take a chance on him getting banged up. I think Mac Jones got a solid chance to put up some decent fantasy points. And then last but not least, the quarterback's only four this week. Drake May at Buffalo. I know you're thinking like at Buffalo. I mean, it's crazy, but dude, Drake May is like putting up a solid 19 to 20 fantasy points every week he gets a chance to play. If you're in a matchup where it's like, I just don't need my quarterback to bust, and you just need some solid production, nothing crazy. I think you could do a lot worse than Drake May. Right now, he's ranked fairly high in standards, and Buffalo's given up, 17th most fantasy points to quarterbacks so far this year. But last week at Arizona, 19 for 23, 202 yards, a touchdown, an interception, four rushes, 14 yards, and a touchdown rushing. I mean, he's putting up right around that 21 point mark most weeks for the last 4 weeks. That's in 6 point per touchdown leagues, but last week had that rushing touchdown. This week he's got Buffalo, then he's got Chargers, he's got Buffalo again. But at Buffalo is going to be cold, but I think they might rely on his legs a little bit more if they're not going to throw the ball as much in Buffalo. So I like Drake May a lot, pretty much going forward, just because of his safe floor as a quarterback. And moving on to our running backs, which are I mean, pretty much a lot of backups that are coming in and they're about to start playing. Number one's got to be Jerome Ford. And honestly, Jerome Ford is probably the number one pickup in fantasy right now for me, just for the sheer fact that Chubb is out and that he's not going to share carries. He's been sharing carries with Chubb. It's pretty much been a 2/3, 1/3 split since Chubb came back, and now Chubb broke his foot. It's going to be the Jerome Ford show. And Jerome Ford came out there and put up 100-something yards on a really solid Pittsburgh they played last week. Sorry, guys. So many games, so many weeks. Let me see here. Sorry, Kansas City, the number one run defense in the NFL. Kansas City put up 114 yards from scrimmage, 84 on the yard with a touchdown, and 20 through the air with two catches. And that was coming in toward the end of the game. So he also returned four kickoffs for 117 yards. Now, I don't think he'll be returning kickoffs whenever he's the lead running back, but now he's got Cincinnati, Miami, and then Baltimore to end the year. You don't really love Baltimore, but Cincinnati and Miami for the next 2 weeks are awesome matchups. So Jerome Ford's out there. Go pick him up. He is a solid RB2 rest of season, probably. Might even be that's an excellent replacement for David Montgomery, honestly. So go pick up Jerome Ford if he's out there, if you got the chance at Cincinnati this week. Tajay Spears, number two. I was 1 week off. I really thought he was going to come back with a vengeance last week, catching the ball, but off just a little bit. Instead, he came back this week. I think he had like 6 catches for 79 yards. Tony Pollard's battling some injuries right now. really think it's a solid chance that Tajay Spears has another good week. This, as you know, I just feel like they're trying to take a little bit of work off of. Uh, trying to take a little bit of work off of uh, Tony Pollard, as they've been riding him pretty heavy. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to pull up Tajay Spears' jacket. But yeah, last week, guys, 7 targets, 6 catches, 87 yards and a touchdown, and then 4 rushes for 5 yards and a touchdown. So not like what you see, but obviously one of those was a red zone carry, which is what you love to see. And then he's got really good matchups rest of the season at Indianapolis, at Jacksonville, and then at home against Houston. Great matchups for Tajay Spears. Now, obviously, he's always an injury risk, but I think he gets a lot enough work to be a serviceable flex running back, maybe even an RB2, especially if he gets a touchdown. Think he could be a solid David Montgomery replacement. I mean, I definitely think you could do worse than him. So, just somebody to think about as you're going through there. Next, it's going to be Kendre Miller, and somebody that was in purgatory for pretty much most of his career because of all his injuries, and then. Uh, with Dennis Allen being there now that Dan Rizzi's taking over for New Orleans, Kendre Miller's been getting more and more opportunity, about 9, 10 carries a week. Well, last week, Alvin Kamara goes down with a groin injury. I mean, with him signed long term, the Saints not going anywhere. Obviously, there's going to be no push for him to start, and that was in the fourth quarter. So that's why Kendre Miller didn't get a lot of extra work. But he catches the ball very well in the backfield too. So I think it's a solid chance that he gets an opportunity against Green Bay to see what he can do in that Alvin Kamara role, which we know is a lot of passes and a lot of runs, a lot of screens, which is exactly what you want from your running back. Green Bay is a solid mid-pack run against the run, and it's at Green Bay. It's going to be cold. They're going to be starting Spencer Rattler. I just feel like they lean on that run game. I think Kendre Miller gets a ton of opportunity as long as he stays healthy. Solid pickup down the stretch for somebody that's not projected for a lot, but I think he's going to get a lot more opportunity and a lot more chance to score some points for you in fantasy as we are down here, and especially dealing with a lot of injuries and people getting sat toward the end of the year. Number 4 is going to be Alexander Madison. This has a lot to do with the Sincere McCormick injury. Alexander Madison was pretty solid RB2 for most of the season, despite what people think about him. I mean, he was around running back 24 pretty much every week and ranked for most of the season until recently, until they started playing more Sincere McCormick and Madison got hurt. Well, Madison came back last night, looked pretty good. Amir Abdullah got all the pass catching, but Alexander Madison got all the goal, like all the early down work and the goal line. And I really feel like going up against Jacksonville, that's going to be the work you want because Jacksonville is by far, I think they're by far the worst run defense. No, not quite the worst run defense. They're 30th. So the third worst run defense in the NFL. And Alexander Madison's probably going to be running that, getting a fair amount of work for him there for Las Vegas. So he's number 4 pickup for me. Number 5 is going to be Tank Bigsby as he is going up against Las Vegas, which is one of the worst run defense. I mean, it's just too bad run defense. I mean, they're like 18th against run defense, but they're losing Max Crosby for the rest of the season. And that's a big blow to this Las Vegas run defense. And Tank Bigsby's getting pretty much all the carries, no pass work, but all the carries pretty much for Jacksonville. And we expect him to get some goal line opportunities against Las Vegas against Las Vegas defense. It's not that great. So I like Tank Bigsby. I like the other guys more. Obviously, that's why he's number 5. But I do think there's a solid opportunity here for Tank Bigsby to do well against this Las Vegas defense. And then number 6 is going to be Craig Reynolds at Chicago. Ultimately, I think Craig Reynolds is going to be the guy. He's a special team stalwart for Detroit. So he's been on the team. He's been playing. He's been up to date. They have a rookie there, Keone Stokey or something like that. I'm not sure of his name, but I don't think he's going to be really relevant. He might get activated as backup, but Craig Reynolds, I think, is going to be the guy. He's great in pass protection. I think they're going to lean more on Gibbs. Don't get me wrong, but I think Craig Reynolds has more of a role than people think because I don't think they want to take a chance on leaning too heavy on Gibbs down the stretch before the playoffs because they know they're going to make playoffs and they know they're going to need Gibbs healthy now. When they make the playoffs, they're going to lean on him super heavily, but think until then, I think they try to keep it the same. I think Craig Reynolds gets a fair amount of work. I think it's going to be probably like a maybe like a 60-40 split with Gibbs getting 60 and Craig Reynolds getting 40. That's just me, but it's going to be at Chicago. Cold weather game. We know Jared Goff does not play great in the cold weather. Man, I really think that this could be a game where Craig Reynolds gets a fair amount of opportunity. Chicago's ranked 28th against the run. And, I think Gibbs and Reynolds get a fair amount of opportunity. I think you could do worse than picking up Reynolds and starting him for Detroit this week. And then last, but certainly not least, this is not one that you can pick up and play this week. He doesn't get activated yet. J.K. Dobbins can be activated for Week 17, and there is rumors that when he will be ready when he can be activated. So keep an eye on that. If J.K. Dobbins was dropped, he was put on IR. A lot of people's thoughts were he was done for the year. Not the case. Okay, so J.K. Dobbins, if he was dropped, you're looking good to make the championship. You're going to play in Week 17. Pick up J.K. Dobbins and throw him on your bench because there's a solid chance he gets activated. And we know this Chargers defense needs all the help that they can get in the run department, as they have not been successful at all. In Week 17, they play at New England, and then Week 18, if for some reason you play then, they play at Las Vegas. Two great matchups for running backs. So just something to think about there. If J.K. Dobbins dropped, pick him up, stash him on your bench for the rest of the season if you need him in playoffs. And that's going to pretty much close out our running backs, and we're going to jump right on into wide receivers. Really several options that are just guys that, they're just guys, but they're getting opportunity, especially here down the stretch. Jalen McMillan for Tampa Bay, somebody that a ton of people are high on, rookie coming in, big-time prospect. And it just took him a while to get that chemistry and get his feel in the offense, but he has done that over the last several weeks. Really just looked like he's coming into his own with Baker Mayfield in this offense. And just go over a couple of things. He's going at Dallas this week, a couple of his last games. So 2 weeks ago against Las Vegas, 7 targets, 4 catches, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lots of red zone opportunity. This past week, 6 targets, 5 catches for 75 yards, and another touchdown. This Tampa Bay offense is clicking on all cylinders, guys. Now they're going to get a Dallas defense that's 24th in the league against wide receivers at Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Baker's coming in hot, ready to go, and all the attention's going to Mike Evans right now because he's trying to break that 1,000-yard mark again, which is giving Jalen McMillan all the opportunity in the world. And so, I think Jalen McMillan is a hot pickup and play. I'm probably going to pick him up starting my flex in several leagues because he is available in a ton of leagues. I'm not listing percentages for this pod just for the sake of a lot of these people are available. But, he's only owned in like 10% of fantasy leagues. So definitely somebody to think about picking up and starting at Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Be a lot of fun to watch him play with Baker in Tampa Bay. So Jalen McMillan's number 1. Number 2 is going to be Adam Thielen. Still did well last week. I think he had like 7 targets, 5 catches for 50-something yards, 10 points. Not what you want to win you a league, but he's not going to lose your league for you either. Well, Xavier Legette goes down with his groin injury in the game. Not the greatest matchup. Going to be at home against Arizona. Arizona's a pretty solid secondary, but Adam Thielen has done great against good secondaries all year. Bryce Young has went to him over and over again, multiple big-time targets. I just don't think you give up on Adam Thielen yet. I think he could have another big game in him down the stretch. So I like him at number 2. Number 3 is going to be Christian Watson. He did exactly what you thought he would do and what he's been doing all year this past week, as he had a fairly solid week, nothing just crazy. But let me see, there it is right there. Going up against pretty solid not a great defense in Seattle, but 6 targets, 3 catches for 56 yards, just no touchdown. Didn't go over the 100-yard mark, but it's pretty much what you expect from Christian Watson. Big plays, hoping he gets that touchdown to get you in there. Well, you know what? This week he gets New Orleans. And as sad as it is, one of the worst secondaries in the league, 28th in the league ranked. He's playing on Monday Night Football, big time spotlight. Green Bay needs to keep winning to try to improve their spot. I think this is a big play. And New Orleans gives up the big play. They just do. And I think this is a big play game for Christian Watson. Love this opportunity for him here in the spotlight. Jordan Love, I really think Green Bay just kind of stomps all over New Orleans, unfortunately, at home against New Orleans on Monday Night Football. So like Christian Watson a lot this week. There's really I like a lot of these wide receivers a lot this week. Number 4 is going to be Quentin Johnston, who we talked a little bit about ago earlier with that kind of strange pop up on the injury report, that ankle injury, but hopefully he's okay. Keep an eye on that. Plays on Thursday night though against Denver at home. Big time game for them at home against Denver. But the thing is, Patrick Surtain's probably going to be a Lad McConkey who's been killing it for them. So I think that just gives a lot more opportunity for Quentin Johnston going down the stretch, who's seeming to build more and more of a rapport with Justin Herbert, and also is getting a lot more action because they're not able to run the ball as much. And with Quentin Johnston being such an explosive playmaker, I think they're looking to get the ball in his hands a little bit more in the short yardage than they have in the past. So love Quentin Johnston against Denver this week, especially if he plays. So keep an eye on his practice schedule. Number 5 is going to be MVS at Green Bay. Hello? Revenge game? Anybody? Honestly, MVS is pretty much all the Saints got. I think he's gotten double digit targets or 9 targets, something like that, the last 2 weeks. Sorry, 7 targets, which is like double digit targets for him, considering what he normally gets. But 7 targets the last 2 weeks. Still getting big plays last week against Washington, 2 for 64, even had a rush. They're trying to give him the ball however they can. Spencer Rattler's probably going to be the one starting this game, who has a cannon for an arm and known to be a gunslinger. So I think this fits Marquez Valdez-Scantling's opportunity here well. Now Green Bay's secondary is good, 7th in the league against wide receivers, but I mean, every team can be vulnerable to give up a big play, and I think New Orleans is going to be shooting for big plays all they can because they know that's probably the only chance they have to win this game. But MVS at Green Bay for a revenge game with Spencer Rattler, I mean, it could happen, but this is definitely like a long shot. Like if you need either it's going to be 7 to 10 points or it's going to be like 30 points, big play, touchdown here and there, whatever. Don't expect anything in between. And then last but certainly not least, it's kind of a stash. Hollywood Brown had his practice window opened up for Kansas City. Probably don't start him this week with Mahomes being out, probably with Carson Wentz. I know we talked a little bit about how they're going to lean more on the run, but I do think if Hollywood Brown comes back, I think they ease him into action first game, but I think they really try to get him going as he has not had any work during the regular season. But I think they try to get his feet wet and get him the ball a fair amount going down the stretch. So Hollywood Brown could be somebody you pick up stash and use at some point in the playoffs, especially, if you pretty much got it locked in. He's an explosive playmaker. His practice window's open. He's healthy enough. He's been practicing. Let's see what he can do down the stretch. So that's my last wide receiver for you right there. Kind of a stash, kind of like J.K. Dobbins. But that's going to close out the wide receivers. We're going to roll right on into tight ends. And there's been stranger things with tight ends. And there are several smart plays here. And you're going to pick up all these puns on these names here going forward. But Brenton Strange is number 1. Hence the stranger things that have gone on with tight ends. But Brenton Strange, number 1 for Jacksonville, going to be playing at Las Vegas. Looked great in his best impression as Evan Ingram. Like 11 targets, 10 catches for I think it was. But yeah, like Brenton Strange a lot at Las Vegas going forward. So definitely somebody that I think can really help you through, especially the tight end position, which is crazy because typically you don't find that diamond in the rough at the tight end position this late in the year. But I think Brenton Strange is that guy. And then all these guys could be that, except for the last one. I don't know if he's that, but he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on. But number 2, Pat Freiermuth for Pittsburgh. I told you last week with George Pickens going down, I felt like he was going to get more opportunity. He did. Another touchdown catch, 6 targets. I mean, pretty much the same week. He had 3 for, I think, 30 something, but he had a touchdown this past week. Now he's going to be at Baltimore, a really good matchup for him. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check, make sure I updated his matchup. Let's see. Yep, at Baltimore, who's really a team that you have to throw the ball to get past. He plays on Saturday, guys. That's another thing to keep in mind. Saturday games start this weekend. So be ready for that. Thursday night games and Saturday night games, Sunday night games, Monday night games. I mean, this is football season right here. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, NFL games starting. So, but yeah, Pat Freiermuth at Baltimore, not a great team against tight ends with him getting more opportunity. Um, Definitely think he's somebody you should focus on if he's available out there. And then number 3, which is a very smart choice, is Stone Smart for the Chargers. You're probably like, who the freak is that? Stone Smart, tight end, backup tight end for the Chargers, really emerged after Will Dissly went down. Really stepped into that, and that's smart with 2 T's, by the way. Stepped into that Will Dissly role, 6 targets, 5 catches for 50 yards. You know, he must have had a fumble in there because he only has 8 points and he had 5 for 50, even though it doesn't say anything about a fumble. But anyway, 5 catches for 50 yards against Tampa Bay. Now he gets Denver, which is kind of a low end tight end defense team. They play Thursday night. Like I was talking about earlier, they're leaning more on the pass because the run's struggling so much. Patrick Surtain's going to be out there taking away Lad McConkey. I think Stone Smart has a good chance to have good opportunity this week. If you're struggling or looking for somebody, some of these other guys, you don't get these guys on waivers. Stone Smart's a great one against Denver at home for the Chargers. Number 4 is going to be Noah Gray, who I've been telling you, I mean, he's slowly creeping into that Travis Kelce role, especially in the end zone. Another 5 targets, only 2 catches for 21 yards, but another touchdown this past week. I mean, now with Patrick Mahomes being out, I don't know how that dynamic changes. But it could be where Carson Wentz leans on Noah Gray more because he works more with the second team instead of Kelce. Who knows? But it's going to be a solid matchup against Houston where Kelce probably gets a lot of the attention and Noah Gray gets a lot more open looks as they're running a lot of 2 tight end sets, especially as they lean on the run. I think he gets even more opportunity now. So I like Noah Gray a lot. And then last but certainly not least, Juwan Johnson. Okay. So this is what I've noticed here with this pattern with the Saints tight ends. Juwan Johnson has a good game. Foster Moreau has a good game. Juwan Johnson has a good game. Foster Moreau has a good game. It's back and forth, back and forth. It's never it's both. It's back and forth. Always one of them has a good game, but it's never the same one. But you know what? Last week, Foster Moreau had a pretty good game. So you know what? I think Juwan Johnson has a good game this week against Green Bay, who is a good team to attack with tight ends. At Green Bay, with Juwan Johnson, history of being a wide receiver turned tight end. So all the more reason for somebody to get involved in this passing game. Spencer Rattler also had some good rapport with him whenever he came in before and started. So I'm looking for Juwan Johnson to have another solid game, hopefully, and exploit this Green Bay defense at Green Bay on Monday night. So just kind of my last, certainly not least. I like him the least just because it's been back and forth between him and Moreau, really inconsistent, but at least it seems like a pattern. But I think you could do worse than giving Juwan Johnson a chance at Green Bay this week on Monday night. And that's pretty much going to be all our tight ends. And then I'm going to run through real quick some streaming defenses and streaming kickers. Pretty much anybody against the Jets, the Giants, Tennessee, and New Orleans the rest of the season. All those offenses give up a ton of points to defenses. So any of those every week, start them. You're pretty much not going to be disappointed. This week, Atlanta is playing the Giants at home. Love that matchup. Indianapolis Colts are playing Tennessee at home. Love that matchup. Green Bay is playing at home against New Orleans. Love that matchup. And then Cincinnati at home versus Cleveland. Love that matchup because Jameis Winston got benched last week. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's probably going to start, who I think is probably worse than Jameis Winston. So love that chance for Cincinnati to feast on defense as well. And then our kickers, Will Reichard. I don't know what else to say. Put up 15 points last week, only owned in like 12% of fantasy leagues. Pick him up, start him rest of season. This week is his last outdoor game, going up against Seattle at Seattle, which is a very easy defense for Minnesota to move the ball against. You got to watch the weather. Kind of can be windy, but I think Will Reichard's got the leg that can handle it. So like Will Reichard at Seattle and like Will Reichard rest of season. Cam Little, kicker for Jacksonville at Las Vegas. Think it's going to be a crapshoot with that game. I really think it's going to be a shootout between 2 terrible teams. But that's what I think. Will Lutz this Thursday at the Chargers. Another great kicker, top 5 kicker. honestly, he's number 5 on the season and going to get a lot of opportunity at the Chargers. Great controlled environment there with a kicker with a big leg and a coach that loves to lean on his kicker during the game. And I think Chargers defense is good enough to let Denver move the ball but stop them in the red zone. I think Will Lutz gets a lot of opportunities. And then last but certainly not least, Brandon McManus for Green Bay at home against New Orleans. Not the best weather conditions there, but McManus kicked in Denver for a long time. He knows how to kick in the cold weather, especially the wind. So like McManus a lot. I think Green Bay gets a ton of opportunity against this New Orleans defense. So there's some kickers for you right there. And that's pretty much going to wrap up our Week 16 waiver wire episode, guys. We really appreciate everybody, listen to the pod throughout the year. Hopefully we've helped y'all get to the playoffs. Hopefully this helps you make some decisions down the stretch. And hopefully you can come away with a trophy. Y'all remember the prayer requests. We're going to pretty much run this thing through the end, be looking for the graphic to come out and check it, see if any of those players are available, and be looking for the start sit sleeper graphic also. We're going to still try to keep coming out with that. We really appreciate everybody listening. Please like, subscribe, share, download. Give us some feedback. It's end of the year, but hey, you give us some feedback. I'll incorporate it. If Clay's, still willing to have me on for next year and do this again, I really enjoy talking about fantasy and looking it up. It's just something that I don't know. It just comes to me easy, but it's something I do really enjoy and talking to people about. And obviously you can tell because I sit here and talk and blab about fantasy football for like 45 minutes, at least once a week for you. So I really appreciate everybody listening. Good luck in the playoffs. I hope you made it. I hope you win the championship. I'll be coming at you next week with Week 17's waivers. Y'all keep chasing that trophy.
This ain't how it's supposed to be. It should be just you and me.